When we talk about the polyurethane feedstocks, we're generally discussing 4 different chemicals: MDI, TDI, propylene oxide, and polyether polyol. MDI and TDI are isocyanates. Isocyanates consist of the isocyanate functional group, nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen consecutively linked by double bonds. It's this functional group which reacts with the hydroxyl group of a polyol to produce our urethane linkage and polyurethanes. MDI, methylene diphenyl diisocyanate, is generally produced in 3 isomeric forms. It's sold as either polymeric MDI or pure MDI. Toluene diisocyanate, TDI, is produced in 2 isomeric forms and is generally sold as an 80-20 ratio isomeric mixture. Propylene oxide is a reactive intermediate which is used in the production of polyether polyols. Now, there are numerous different grades and structures of polyether polyols. Generally, we have an initiator molecule which reacts with propylene oxide to produce our polyether polyols. And the different types of initiator molecules determines the structure and type of polyether polyol. At IHS Markit, we characterize polyether polyols by rigid polyether polyols and flexible polyether polyols. Rigid polyether polyols are used in rigid polyurethane foam, whilst flexible polyether polyols are used in flexible polyurethane foam. Our rigid polyether polyols are based on an initiator of sucrose. They have a functionality of 5, which means there are 5 terminal hydroxyl groups in the final polyether polyol, and has a molecular weight of 500 grams per mole. Our flexible polyether polyol uses an initiator of glycerin. It has a functionality of 3, so 3 terminal hydroxyl groups, and it has a molecular weight of 4,000 grams per mole, so sizable compared to our rigid polyether polyol. Polyurethanes are used in a myriad of end-use application. We're surrounded by polyurethanes 24 hours a day. Our isocyanates react with the hydroxyl group of our polyols to produce the urethane linkage and polyurethanes. Generally, we have rigid polyurethane foam, flexible polyurethane foam, and then case, coatings, adhesives, sealants, and elastomers. Rigid polyurethane foams are used as insulation in the construction industry and in fridge freezers and other appliances. They are used due to the excellent intrinsic insulating properties. Rigid polyurethane foam has a higher K value compared to some of the competing products, such as EPS and rock wool. So it's the preferred choice of insulating material in the construction industry and also in fridge freezers and other appliances. Flexible polyurethane foam tends to be consumed in end-use consumer goods. We see flexible polyurethane foam in furniture, mattresses, and vehicle seating. An interesting end-use example of polyurethanes is in our shoe soles, and I was reading the book Shoe Dog by Phil Knight about how he set up Nike, and in the book it speaks about how Bill Bowerman, the famous US Olympic coach, used his waffle iron and polyurethanes to produce the first polyurethane shoe sole in Nike trainers, which we see in the Nike waffle racer shoes today. The polyurethane feedstock markets are complex. There's a lot of uncertainty. We've seen supply instability and price volatility in the previous few years. This has certainly been the case for the isocyanates, both MDI and TDI. Let's take these as an example. From 2016 to 2018, the MDI and TDI markets, the isocyanate markets, were structurally tight. We saw a decrease in excess capacity in 2017 across both of these markets. What this means is, effectively, annual demand growth exceeded capacity growth. The isocyanate markets were structurally tight over this period. There are numerous unplanned turnarounds from 2016 and 2018 as well. Nearly every single isocyanate plant around the world underwent an unplanned outage, and as such, this exacerbated the structurally tight market. Short-term availability shortened. From Q4 2016 to mid-2018, the number of outages in the MDI and TDI markets significantly increased. As a few examples, in Q4 2016, Covestro declared force majeure across European isocyanates, both MDI and TDI. Through 2017, BASF had operating issues at its Chongqing plant in China due to feedstock supply difficulties. Weather-related issues also impacted supply. In Q3 2017, Hurricane Harvey resulted in nearly every single US isocyanate plant declaring force majeure, having some kind of production outage. That was similarly the case in Q1 2018, when we saw the big freeze. And in late 2018, the low levels of the River Rhine cause European isocyanate plants to operate at reduced rates as well. In response to the structurally tighter market and the increased number of turnarounds, we saw MDI and TDI prices significantly increase. Through 2017, MDI and TDI prices increased significantly. In the case of the Chinese TDI price, it tripled through the year until we reached a peak in early 2018. From then on, we've seen a decrease in the isocyanate prices on a global basis, just both MDI and TDI. This is because we've seen a softening in demand in response to the high prices. We've seen product substitution. For instance, in insulation, we've seen a shift from polyurethane foam and polyisocyanurate foam to rock wool and EPS. In the case of mattresses, we've seen a shift from flexible polyurethane foam-based mattresses to spring-based mattresses. So we've seen this demand erosion over the last year. Now the polyurethane feedstock markets are weak, and we see very low MDI and TDI demand. However, it looks like the markets are turning a corner. At IHS Markit, we are about to release our new MAS Global Polyurethane Feedstock service at the end of March. This service will provide strategic insight and price discovery on the polyurethane feedstock markets, MDI, TDI, propylene oxide and polyether polyols, which will enable clients to navigate the complexities, the volatility and the uncertainty in the polyurethane feedstock markets.